Are you ready to build your network at lightning speed? Well, mark your calendar for April 16th through the 18th and join us at Connect. You'll experience 3 days of growing, networking, and breaking through your limitations. Look, you'll never be the same. So go to attend-connect.com to learn more.
But unfortunately, there are salespeople that shouldn't be selling what they're selling and should go somewhere else. Because the great part about selling is you can pretty much use these skills anywhere. But definitely, like if you can't get behind it, if you don't believe in the product or service, how can you sell it?
How do you build a network, run a profitable business, and make an impact? Oh, and have a personal life at the same time? That's the question, and this podcast is the answer. I'm your host, Chaz Wilson, husband, father of 5, author of the book 5+1, president and co-founder of Master Networks, Inc., a national networking organization. Look, each week I bring you successful entrepreneurs who will share success strategies of how to effectively build a network, add valuable wisdom to your journey, and help you succeed. Welcome to Connect, Share, and Prosper.
Everybody, welcome to Connect, Share, Prosper. This is episode 93. Today, I'm excited to introduce our special guest. Today, Ursula Mentjes is an award-winning entrepreneur, sales expert, inspirational speaker, and author of Selling with Intention. I'm going to say that again, Selling with Intention. You need to go get that book on Amazon. We're going to talk a lot about that today. But at the age of 27, she was promoted from account executive to president of an international technical training company after just 5 years at the company. In her first year, she increased their sales by 90%. And by the time she was promoted, their revenue was in the tens of millions. Ursula speaks to audiences about selling with intention and closing with authenticity. As a sales expert, she transforms the way they think about selling so they can reach their goals with less anxiety and less effort. She currently lives in Minnesota with her husband and 6-year-old son. And please welcome to Connect, Share, Prosper, Ursula Mentjes. Welcome to the show.
I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me today. And hello to everyone out there.
Yeah, thank you. So this is perfect for our audience because it's entrepreneurs, sales professionals. But I think, and I said this just before we started to you, I think sales gets a bad rap, right? And so tell me why that is, and then we'll go back to the story. But right out of the gate, why does sales get such a bad rap?
Yeah, it's a fun place to start. So everybody hates salespeople. Let's just say that. Nobody ever says, I love sales. I love salespeople. You know, everyone thinks they're all like something's always happening to them if someone's trying to sell them something. So it has a negative connotation in our society, and we aren't taught how to sell. So it's not like in elementary school or in high school or even in college where we can take a class on selling for the most part and realize that it's actually a great skill. And I think for most of our listeners, for your listeners, entrepreneurs, sales professionals, we're accidental salespeople as well. There's not many people who said, I'm going to be a salesperson someday, you know, or went in that direction. So unfortunately, here we are, but it definitely has kept us in business because we love helping people shift their beliefs about selling, sales professionals, and what it means to be an entrepreneur.
Well, I love the phrase that you just said, accidental sales. I mean, you're right. And that's why I think there's sometimes a bad rap because we don't treat it like a profession, like something that's, you wouldn't go, hey, I'm going to go have surgery with my accidental doctor, right? My doctor was accidental and just, you know, no, I'm going to show up and be a professional in this, right? So tell me about, first of all, how did you get started? How did you know that you wanted to be in sales?
I absolutely did not want to be in sales. I'm completely an accidental salesperson. Very proud of it today, though. I actually wanted to pay for law school, and I needed money to do that. I grew up on a farm in southern Minnesota, and my parents said, go to college and get a good job because they hadn't, and they're like, the farm's going to go away. You can't stay here. I thought I was going to be a farmer or a veterinarian. Those were my top 2 choices. So that was the plan. Didn't work out. Got a liberal arts degree and panicked and thought, what am I going to do with this? So went on my way to go to law school, and the long and short is a good friend of mine introduced me to her uncle who had sold a company for $10 million. I'd never met an entrepreneur before. And we got to live with his family for a couple months after we graduated from college because we had no money. And anyway, we were chatting one day and he said, you know, Ursula, may I give you some advice? And I said, yes, please. Obviously, you're very successful. And he said, get a job in outside sales. And I said, what does that even mean, right? Am I outside? Like, I grew up on a farm. Right. Like, what does that even mean? He said, no, it means you're going to sell business to business. He said, I'll never forget this. He said, Because if once you learn how to sell, you can do anything.
So true.
And I think he's right.
Yeah. Yeah. Why is that right? Like, what do you think he meant? What do you know and understand about that now today?
Yeah. Because selling will challenge everything that you've ever thought you knew about yourself. It'll force you to do things that are so far outside your comfort zone that you never thought you would ever do in your entire life. And if you stick with it long enough, I mean, in my case, the first job I had with a technical training consulting company meant 100 cold calls every single day. It was like boiler room, hand in the tick sheet at the end of the day, put my, marks on the board. I mean, that's how I learned how to sell. And once I did that, everything else seemed pretty easy. And so once I got into management, I was like, wow, this is super easy, right? I don't even have to call. I just get to manage salespeople, help them get to the next level. And I think it's one of the reasons I advanced as quickly as I did, because I didn't want to do selling full time anymore.
Yeah. So how did you, like you said, accidental sales, like, were there mentors or people that you followed to learn how to sell, or were you kind of just on your own, kind of trying to figure it out all the way?
Never. None of us, right? Like, we all had to learn from somebody. So the first week on the job was so terrible that I went out and bought every book I could on sales and selling, from Brian Tracy's The Psychology of Selling, Tommy Hopkins, to Zig Ziglar, to stay motivated. I also read The Sales Bible by Jeffrey Gitomer when I didn't yell at me. I love his style. It was really good. It was in my face. And I also found a book by the now late Dr. Wayne Dyer called The Power of Intention. And that book, combined with all these books on sales strategy, was really game changing for me, so to speak, because I went from thinking selling is a numbers game, because that's what everyone told me. Selling is a numbers game. It's a numbers game. It's a numbers game. And I'm like, it's not a numbers game, because I could pound the phone all day, make 100 cold calls and not get an appointment. Or I could sell with intention, which is how my book was finally born. I could sell with intention, make 25 solid researched calls and get 5 appointments. Like, that math made so much more sense to me. It gave me time to connect with the prospect. It gave me time to actually set a real appointment. And that really shifted everything.
Okay,
and then from there, I had a lot of mentors. Go ahead.
So selling with intention, because I hear what you're saying, right? I think there's going to be people out there that say, or I'm thinking, I know of people who will say, oh, I like that style. See, she just said I don't need to make 100 calls. I just have to go research really well 25 people, but they'll spend all their time in the research, right? And they get stuck there. So help me understand a little bit better, selling with intention. Describe that for me. Great
question. So selling with intention means to choose the result ahead of time. And it comes from a complete place of integrity. You're calling on your top 20%. When I say your top 20%, those are people need your services. And so it's coming from a place of either I can help you, which would be great. I'd love to help you. I'd love to help you with whatever product or service I have, or maybe I can refer you to someone else. So it comes from that very conversational, authentic perspective. From there, those 25, here's the thing, Chaz, you always have a list of 25.
Sure.
Okay? So I want you to have a list of 1,000 over here, but have your 25 in front of you every single day. And either you get a yes, which is you're my new client, I get to serve you. A clear no, it's not a fit, maybe I can refer you to somebody else. Or third, and this is the spot the piece that most people miss, a next step on the calendar.
Yes.
That one tip right there has helped a lot of our clients just double their sales in a short amount of time. So yes and no. So then my top 25, as soon as I set an appointment with one of them, they move down to my 99% close, because I'm that intentional, right? Yes. And then I put a new one on my 25. So it's the same 25. Now, the next part of this is I recommend that you make 30 minutes of intentional focused calling every single day. It's one of the things that we do at our sales camps. We do it at our private courses, because what we know is that most people won't do it, right? They think they have to make a lot of calls, so they don't make calls at all. And they just get overwhelmed. When I can show someone what they can knock out in 30 minutes of phone calling, they are blown away. And then we reverse engineer the math and we figure out, well, if you want to get to 20,000 a month or 50,000 a month or whatever your number is, we know exactly how many 30-minute calling segments you need during a week to get there, right? So that starts to shift like the hard work part of this into a very intentional sales process.
And to me, that's the numbers game. It's not the person or the prospects that's the number game. It's the time on the task that's the numbers game in my world, right, of how I see it. And so am I right in that?
Yeah, you could call it that. What I don't like is when people get hung up on it's a numbers game and then they call without being intentional. That's the shift I make. And I think it's saying the exact same thing.
So I love it because I have been, come up with all the phrases. I've been the phone call person for a long time. I think it's, to me, one of the most effective ways. I love being on the phone. I've gotten, well, I shouldn't say I love it. I've just gotten more comfortable with it. Like I feel okay doing it. But I love the 30 minutes of intentional calling on a regular basis is the key, because it allows you to get in front of people with, like you said, being intentional and talking to them about, so here's where I want to go, because I've had some training and I'm hoping that I'm like, there's probably some things I need to improve on this. So is there a process when you say with intentionality, when I have somebody on the phone, or is there a sales process that you go through and you take people through?
Yes. So how much can I cover? So think of it as,
I opened up the box, right?
Where do I go next? Think of it as an authentic conversation. So then we kind of just take sales out of it. So if you're reaching out to someone, it's to find out if you can help them or not, right? But here's one of the things I recommend, because most people sell too soon. So they make a phone call and they talk too much. We talk too much. Salespeople, we like to talk, right? So the first step is to set a separate appointment, a separate time to talk. And often in that 30 minutes of calling, someone's going to start asking you a lot of questions. And the easiest thing to say is, those are great questions, and I want you to write them down. And you're going to have a lot more questions before we get on the phone together. And I encourage you to write those down as well, because I'm going to answer all of those in that time. I just want to make sure that right now I'm using your time in the best way possible in my time. So we're going to talk later, when we schedule this appointment. So that way your focused 30 minutes of calling is specifically to set appointments with your top prospects.
So good.
And so I'll give you an example. In what we've proven over and over again, in one of our sales camps, the current record holder, some of our clients are kind of competitive, is 11 appointments in 30 minutes.
Wow.
Turned into $70,000 of business for her. And she owned a social media company. So now that's a stretch. Like, she had to be super ready, but when you're that ready and you're that intentional, you can get it. We also help people make cold calls. Our current record holder set 4.5, because it turned into 5 appointments, cold calls in 30 minutes. And she was calling on large hotels in downtown Minneapolis and St. Paul. So you can think of the big names that are down there. And she got 5 appointments. Because the other thing we teach people is how to effectively leave a voicemail that gets you a call back, that gets you an appointment. Most people don't know how to do that. Yes. So when I say 4.5, she got a call back on one of her voicemails. So she couldn't believe it. She's like, Ursula, we love to hear that. Ursula, I can't believe it. That's where we really see our clients shine, is in that 30 minutes. And all of a sudden, selling doesn't seem so painful, because most people think they have to be on the phone for 8 hours a day. And that's just not true.
There's so much in this that you just shared. Like, guys, you're listening here. Ursula Mentjes is on the podcast today. If you're watching here, we're rebooting the TV. Apparently, we tripped a breaker in the office during the episode. So there we go. It's back up. Yeah. We broke the office. Now let's break the internet. You think we can break the internet? So here's what I love about this is, because I think that there's this mindset right now, and I know our listeners are going, like, there's some really good tips and reminders of what I need to be doing, but there's this thing, it's like, well, if I just do 10 posts on social media all day, that's my selling, and it's got to be way more intentional than that, is what I hear you saying. And I love this. So God, I want to dive into so many different places. My mind's racing on this, because I so love the sales piece of business, and I think it's the place that people need to improve the most, right?
We all do.
Yeah. Do you so I love using like technology. I use phone dialers so I can make those calls really quick and stuff. Do you recommend that, or are you against that? What's your thoughts on those?
If it works for you, use it. Like, if it's going to get you on the phones and you have a system, like, anytime you can systemize something, I think that's even better. So I think it's great. And we have clients who do that.
Yeah. So you talked about your camps and your clients and stuff like that. Just give us an overview of what that looks like. What do you take people through? How long is it? What do they walk out with? That kind of thing. Sure.
So we offer 10 public sales camps a year between here and San Diego. So when I say here, in the Minneapolis area, and then in San Diego, and those are our public sales camps. So anyone can attend those. And it's typically entrepreneurs and sales professionals. And it's 2 days focused on how to take your business to the next level. We start with mindset, which we talked a little bit about today. And a lot of people are like, think that's so kind of woo-woo. I'll tell you something.
No.
I can teach somebody strategy all day, but if they hate salespeople, or if they hate selling, or if they hate money, like all these limiting beliefs, they will not hear any of the rest of it. So we start with mindset first, and we shift, like, what do you believe about salespeople? How do you see yourself as a salesperson? I just got a message over the holiday from a client who pulled out his sales camp binder from 10 years ago. Okay.
Wow.
10 years ago. And he said, Ursula, I just want you to know that one money belief that I shifted at sales camp 10 years ago allowed me to quit my job, because he was straddling. He had a company kind of on the side, quit my job, go full time. And he said, I've had the company for 10 years. And he said, if I wouldn't have shifted that belief, I wouldn't have had the courage to go out and grow the company the way that I have. So mindset first. Then we talk about how to create a 90-day plan. Like, I'm such a big believer. I've created $1 million lines of revenue for other people and in my own companies. And so I'm a big believer in understanding the numbers. And that's something that people fight. Like, they don't want to talk about the numbers. They've never done a projection. They're not sure how to read their P&L. So we get a clear 90-day plan with clear numbers. Then we write intentional sales scripts on what to say to get the appointment, what to say to get a call back on a voicemail. So that's day one. Usually by day one.
Before you go to day two, that was something I was going to ask you. You kind of answered it, but I know there's a lot of I've seen different, philosophies is maybe the right word, of scripts or non-scripts. And you're definitely somebody that, like, no, you need to have a script.
We call it, that's a great question. We call it a bullet pointed, authentic conversation. So I say script because people understand what that means, but once you're in camp, it's like, this is just an authentic conversation with bullet points, so that we've had every industry you can imagine come through sales camp, and it's really plug and play. You just put your words. What would you say? Would you be less formal here? Would you be more formal? So it's authentic to you and your industry.
So good. Okay. Day two.
Day two, they come in, we do a little bit of mindset in the morning to get them ready for the day. We role play like crazy our sales scripts to make sure that, you're super comfortable when you actually make the calls, and you practice with other people in the room. So it's fun. You get real-time feedback from other entrepreneurs who are like, that doesn't make sense to me. Or, yes, I totally get that. And now I want an appointment with you, right? So they get that feedback. And then right before lunch, we make 30 minutes of real phone calls. People get
good
in the room, and that further shifts their beliefs about sales and selling, right? All of a sudden they're like, I can do this. I just got 2 appointments or 5 appointments. And we calculate how much revenue that could be for them. From there, they leave their phones on all afternoon, because the phones ring, they get calls back on their voicemails, which is super fun, because everyone's like, this actually works. And they keep saying it and saying it. So that belief gets stronger. And then the afternoon, we teach them a 5-step system, how to easily close a sale. And it's a very consultative process to almost coach someone through. We teach them how to coach their prospect through the process, so that they can make an educated decision on whether or not they should buy from them. And that's it. We make it that simple.
Wow. So yeah, it is very simple. It's very straightforward, very simple. Let's jump to the mindset piece for a second. That's where we started. I want to go back there for a second, because I loved what you said. I could teach strategy all day long, technique, strategy, skills, all of that. But if the mindset isn't right, do you have a tip of something I could do if I'm struggling with sales mindset that I could do to try to shift that?
Yeah, let's do it right now. So for everyone who's listening, I want you to think about your sales stretch goal for the next 12 months. So if you could wave a magic wand and you could hit any number, the stretch goal, the one that seems a little unbelievable, but still kind of believable, that number, okay?
Yeah.
When you think about that number, what is your number one limiting belief about why you can't have it? Like, what's the first thing that pops into your head about why you can't? Is it about a belief about yourself? Is it a belief about how much you charge? Is it a belief about, scaling? Like, what is that limiting belief? Okay. Once you have that limiting belief, the next step is to ask yourself, because we're going to start to shift it, or what are 3 things that are potentially not true about your limiting belief? So for example, we hear a lot, one of the number one limiting beliefs we change is that I don't want to be perceived as being pushy, right? I don't want to follow up.
Right.
So stats tell us we have to follow up more than 5 times to actually close a sale. That's what statistics tell us. Sometimes it's more than that, right? I don't want to be perceived as being pushy. Well, what's not true about that? Number 1 is that you're not calling to be pushy. You're actually following up multiple times because you want to serve them. You want to make a difference. You want to solve their problem. Number 2, you actually care about your clients. So how could you be perceived as being pushy if you're following up to check in and to help them take the next step? And number three, people that we attract in our community, I'm sure in your community, are coming from such a place of service. Like they try so hard not to sell, right? So you're already not being pushy. Like for most of you, that's impossible for you to sound pushy at all. And the reverse is actually true. Your prospect is actually waiting to hear from you. Because if you think about it, I always like to use the house remodeling project example. If you were under a strict deadline to remodel your home and you reached out to 3 contractors and only one of them reached back to you, right, and kept following up with you to get you started, which one would you probably go with?
Yeah, the one that followed up.
Right. Yeah. And so I always tell our clients, I'm like, your prospect is never going to call you. The day they call you and say, hey, Ursula, how's it going? Here's my credit card. That's the day you go out and buy a lotto ticket, because that doesn't happen.
Right.
Waiting for you to follow up. So once you know that, so then the final part of that is to shift your limiting belief into what I call an empowering belief or an achieving belief. And for that one, we recommend this. I am a professionally persistent problem solver. Right? So you go from like, oh, I'm being so pushy if I follow up, to I am a professionally persistent problem solver. Because think about that. When you actually believe that belief, who would you be afraid to call? Nobody, right? Because you're following up to solve their problem.
Oh, so good.
To that new belief. And then you start to act from that new belief. And then finally you look for evidence that that new belief is true. And it starts to strengthen.
Well, and the interesting thing is, first of all, I am a professional, persistent problem solver, right? The other thing is you and I buy stuff from people all the time. And I don't walk away from that and go, man, that person was pushy, right? They followed up with me way too often. In fact, most of the cases, so on our end as the receiver of it is that we know that to be true. We know what you just said is true. And so that should be evidence to us. Because we're like, man, I'm so glad they followed up. Yes, I've been meaning to get back with you, or whatever it is, because I'm busy. I don't. And I often say to myself, sometimes I have had those conversations with myself and said, I need a product. I've had 2 or 3 people reach out. I kind of want to see who's going to follow up with me. I do. I mean, maybe that's like evil of me to think that, but I kind of go, I want to see who earns the business. Well,
it's not evil at all, because think about it. It's kind of like dating, right? So when you're talking to a prospect, or a prospect is, you're working with them, they're judging you from the moment they meet you. Yes. And so they're judging you on how you're going to be if you get married, right? Or if you're working together. And so that is one of the most powerful ways to show someone how you're going to support them during the process, or how you're going to be once they buy from you.
So good. Yeah. I love it. I love so there's so much we could talk about selling. I love the mindset piece, and I love the things that you said about I'm a professional, persistent problem solver. I want to ask, or just kind of get your thoughts on one other thing. I think sometimes too, where people struggled with mindset, I guess what I'm asking you is, have you seen this in your own experience in coaching people? Are there ever times where people are selling something they can't authentically get behind?
Yes.
Yeah. That's a struggle, right?
And I think that it depends on the situation. I've had it show up, because I also, myself, my team, we work with corporations as well. So we have to be really careful, if a corporation is paying me to be there. But unfortunately, there are salespeople that shouldn't be selling what they're selling and should go somewhere else. Because the great part about selling is you can pretty much use these skills anywhere. But definitely, if you can't get behind it, if you don't believe in the product or service, how can you sell it?
Yeah.
Everyone's going to feel that. And so find something different.
So it's interesting you say that. And I think the reason why I bring that up is, if people are listening to this, if you're not a product of your own product, if you haven't bought it, if you don't believe in it, if you're not I don't think you should be selling it. If you can't sell yourself on it, why would you? I just heard this the other day from somebody. He got his sales team together, and he said, they sell this $1,000 program. And he said, basically to a sales team, he said, when was the last time each of you spent $1,000 on any kind of self-improvement? And they couldn't even tell him, not a one of them. And I thought, wow, that's a powerful statement. If I'm not doing it myself, I'm not investing in myself, how do I turn around and ask somebody else to do that too? And I think that's where, when you said, I wrote down, now I can't read my own scribble, but your authenticity conversation, right? Mm-hmm. How do you have an authentic conversation if you're not believing in what you're selling? So it has to start there, right?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. So powerful.
Yeah. It's one of those things that I think it's easy to overlook, but it also shows up. So I think there's also times when it can be kind of subtle. So especially for those of us who have our own companies, if certain things aren't set up in your company correctly, or like there's just something in the back of your head, you need to upgrade your programs, you need to, make some changes on your website or things like that. Get those things done, because I feel like they're always like in the room when you're having conversations with your prospects, and people can sense that. I mean, selling is so much there's so much nonverbal, and there's so much subconscious conversation that happens that people will be blown away. Like we can't measure that yet, but if you think about it, why do you buy something? At the end of the day, you buy it because, it makes you feel better, or you think it's going to make a difference for you. Ultimately, how does it make you feel? And that's what people are keying in on. And so when someone's having a conversation with you and it feels off, that's why you don't buy. So it's important to think about what's going on internally when you're selling, or how do you think your product or service?
Yeah, I think in some ways selling is very simple, and in other ways it's so complex, but right?
That's why we try to simplify it. I try to simplify it to come from a place of be authentic, be clean in your conversations, show up to serve, but ultimately serve by asking for the business. You have to close the loop on that, or you're really not serving people.
I couldn't agree with what you said more in the sense of how the number of people that I watch who come in, of course they say, hey, I want to get in front of Chaz. I want to, he's got this big Master Networks tribe, and I want to talk to him about our product or service. And then they walk in, and I'm like, I kind of already have my mind made up in many ways, whether I want the product or not, or the service, but I want to see their skill. I want to see, are they really asking me the right questions? Are they trying to close? Do they ask for the close? And I've had people who just don't even ask me for the business. I'm like, gosh, I would have said yes.
I know. And then do you follow up and try to sell, have them sell to you, or do you just at that point let go because they didn't close the deal?
Personally, for me, I move on.
Yeah.
Cause I just go,
it's so important for everyone to hear.
Yes. I just go, look, if you can't ask me for the business, I don't want to do your job for you. I want you to sell me. It's interesting. I this is what I'd love your take on is I feel like as a salesperson, in a sense, I see myself as a salesperson as well. I actually enjoy somebody who is skilled at their craft and can sell me.
Yeah, I do too. And it's unfortunate. I just got an email, and it sounded like such a great opportunity. So I'm reading this email, and it's from an executive producer, and I was excited about it. And I was just reading through it, and it was missing some key components. And so I replied and I said, tell me more, what specifically about my company and about me are you interested in? Because I wanted to see if it was just kind of form, or if they really knew, and what kind of opportunity. And the answer they gave me was so just kind of gray. And I'm like, I'm not inspired. I'm just not going to follow through on that. And so, yes, when you see someone who really owns their craft and they know their craft, and especially us, especially other salespeople, I think we will buy from them all day long. I mean, the worst for me is when I go to Mall of America here in the Twin Cities, because the people who have kiosks, some of them are such good salespeople. And so I own that really cool steamer that was $80.
Right.
It's $10. I buy the hair curling stuff. I mean, I'm so easy to sell to when someone's a great salesperson.
I was going to say that. I actually think good salespeople are easy to sell to. Yes. Because they understand it, and they're easy to navigate through.
And how can you say no at that point? You're like, oh, you did a good job. Yes, here's my money. I know. Sometimes the kids in the neighborhood knock on the door to sell me, their cookies or whatever, and they'll knock on the door, and I'll say, so what are you selling? Why are you selling it? What's the money going towards? And my wife's like, would you just buy the cookies? And I'm like, no, it's not about. I'm not hammering them. I'm not I want them to learn in the process, their skill set, have some confidence that they can actually do it. And one of my kids, my oldest, they did a popcorn thing one year, and he didn't even ask permission. He came home, dropped his backpack, knocked on a bunch of doors, came back with this thing filled out. Yeah.
And we were like, well, son, are you supposed to collect the money right away? Or when do you he's like, I don't know, but all these people said yes. I'm like, all right, you're onto something. Right?
So fearless.
Yeah.
You know who I run from are Girl Scouts, because we buy so many Girl Scout cookies, and at some point I can't eat them. But when I see a Girl Scout, I know they have some of the best sales training in the world for kids. And I think they're one of the few companies or organizations, I should say, that's out there that really teach kids how to sell. Probably Boy Scouts too, and some of the other.
And they're always at the right location too, because they're always in front of the grocery store. Like as you're trying to walk in, you're hungry. Like, hey, Girl Scout cookies right here. I've gone out the other door just because I'm like, I can't even make eye. It's something about making eye contact. You make eye contact with those Girl Scouts, you are buying 5 boxes minimum. And
they're fearless. Like they're so confident, and I admire that so much. And if they catch my attention, I'm in. I'm buying.
I know. I'm the same way. Guys, there's so much. By the way, Ricardo's in studio with me today. Write this down. We need a part 2 to this because I think there's so much here. I know you have some great things that you offer people. You talked about the camp and some other things. Where can people find you? How can they learn more? Where can they connect with you at?
So great. Thanks for asking. We have a free gift. So they can go to Sales Coach Now. So that's sales with an S, salescoachnow.com/free. We make it really easy. And it's a simple PDF. I like easy things. You can download it. It's some tips on how to double your sales now. So if you're having kind of a tough day, just go there, get it, follow some of those tips, and hopefully it can help you. We also want to do something special because you have members who are in the Twin Cities area, you have members who are in San Diego, and we want to make it a no-brainer for your community. I know we're just getting to know each other, but I've met a lot of people who are part of Master Networks and part of your organization, and they're just great people doing great things. So for anyone who would love to come to sales camp, so if you like what we talked about today, we're offering a 75% discount for you to join us and to bring a guest with you. And this is, I don't know, it's the season of giving right now. So all you have to do is, we'll this go in the show notes as well?
We can put it in the show notes for sure. You tell me.
Yeah, it's just it's a bit.ly, those little bit.ly things with Chaz Wilson at the end. So
but I'm honored. My name, 75% off. This is great. Yeah, no, we'll put that in the show notes for sure.
And the code is your first name. So all caps. So once they click on that, they can use that CHAS, all caps, and you can get 75% off. Come out and play with us. We'd love to get to know.
Oh, that's so great. Thanks for that offer to our Master Networks family. Take advantage of this. Like if you're struggling with sales or if you want to improve and get to the next level, this is something you should take advantage of. I've been around a lot of, I'm going to be careful. I'll say, people who claim to be sales trainers, like, it's like some people who are business coaches but have never run a business. And so just the things that I heard from you today, guys, we heard some amazing techniques and strategies and tips and the mindset and all of those things. So if you're looking at sales, which you should be, because it is how you grow the top line revenue of your business. And without the top line, there's never going to be a bottom line. So make sure you're focused on that top line revenue. This is something you need to take advantage of and be a part of. Ursula, thanks so much for being part of this episode of Connect, Share, Prosper. Just so loved having you on the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited, and I look forward to coming back. Thank you.
Guys, every week, Monday, noon Central, I have amazing guests like Ursula on our show. Make sure you subscribe to our Facebook page, our YouTube channel, so you can be notified as soon as these episodes come live, so you can get great content, wisdom, training, and strategies like we heard today on this show. So until next time, I'll see you next week on Connect, Share, Prosper.
Are you ready to build your network at lightning speed? Well, mark your calendar for April 16th through the 18th and join us at Connect. You'll experience 3 days of growing, networking, and breaking through your limitations. Look, you'll never be the same. So go to attend-connect.com to learn more.